Myself, Bobby Richardson, for Talk 5D and Beyond. This is a brand new thing, so we're trying out different things as we go. And it takes a wee while for the chat bar to start up, by the way, guys. So it'll be about 5 or 10 minutes before people start rolling in. But when people replay this, they can, go through, see our introductions and stuff like that. So let's introduce ourselves. Janine, do you want to go first?
Oh, yes, good morning or good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Lovely to be here. Thank you, Bobby. I'm Janine Savion, and I have come here for to help humanity, to help lift the vibration here on this planet to love. And I know love intimately, so I call myself a messenger for love. And I'm an intuitive visionary, so I get a lot of my messages from my team in vision. And yes, I'm happy to be part of this today and come to all you that might be listening. Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, Janine. Steve.
And I'm Steve Allison. You could say I'm just your average guy, or was your average guy. Most people will call me crazy right now, but I know that I'm not. I began this awakening phase, as it's been coined so much, just strange events happening in my life. I have a Christian upbringing, and so I've always relied on that. But I had to come out of that box of religious thinking, and I've always asked Spirit to lead me. And the journey that it has led me on, it has been amazing, to broaden and awakening awareness and thinking of reality. There are people further ahead in this journey. There are people, I don't want to use beneath us in this journey, but we're all pulling each other home, is the best way I could say it. And I don't say anything I say or anything we say. I don't ask for anybody to hold it as your truth. I only share my journey with you. And if something that I have to say resonates with you, hold on to that. If you don't like something I say or any of us say, no one's asking you to believe it or hold it as your truth, but just hear it out, and that's about all I can say right now.
So true, Steve. I totally agree with you, and I've introduced myself in that way as well sometimes. So thank you for saying that. My name is Bobby Richardson. I have been gifted the ability to see into different frequencies most of my life till I was 50. And so I've been visited by many beings, had many experiences, even honestly been led to gold, which is really a crazy story in itself. Just have a multiple of stories behind me. And the last 3 years since I turned 50, I've been, the visions have stopped, and they've been just channeling information through me instead, which a lot of the messages that are on my website and on Facebook and so forth, and my YouTubes, they actually would wake me up in the early hours of the morning and download a message, and then I'd get excited and start writing it out. And then I'm like, this is too beautiful not to put into a video format. And so I worked tirelessly all week to get it into a video format. By the end of the week, and it's all finished and done, they would give me another message, and that went for a couple of years. The last couple of years, but it's all shifting again at the moment. So it's really interesting how things shift too. Hey, Holly, so good that you've found us. She said, woohoo, I found you. And so quickly, because that's not usual that people find us that quickly. Anyways, we are today talking on a beautiful topic, We're talking about the fifth dimension and what it looks like from this third dimensional perspective. So when you're actually in that fifth dimension, there's a whole different set of what I would call natural rules or laws or whatever you want to call them. It's just something that just is. You just are present with the love for everything that's around you and the acceptance of everything that's around you. Hey, Mandy, nice to meet you. I'm going to just share with you something of my own first, and then we'll get into what Janine and Steve feel about it as well. But I wanted to start off with this because I've been taken to quite a few scenarios by Spirit that lifted me into these other dimensional spaces. One of them, a couple of them were just through strong, really focused, determined meditations of I want to feel what it's like. And but the biggest profound one that I had was in a dream state, and absolutely different dream state to the normal dream state. This felt real. This felt like I was actually present in a higher frequency. So I woke up in the dream and I was in a house or a home that was high up on a mountain top. And that when I got out of bed, I realized the first thing I realized was that my mind was absolutely still, like absolutely still. And there was no mind chatter, monkey mind, you might call it, of past projecting into the future. It just was of an acceptance of everything. And the feeling with that was a very euphoric kind of a feeling, a high feeling, but just a natural, beautiful feeling. I just wanted to let you know what that felt like, because the feeling is what I've always realized was home and what I strive to move towards from this dimensional place, is to move towards that feeling rather than the story that was surrounding me at the time. But I did get up and I walked over to the kitchen area, which was very sparse, but beautiful. And there was a door to my left-hand side, and I could see outside the mountains. We were high up, and I had a knowing of some friends of mine that were coming to visit me. And when they were coming to visit me, I knew that they would have to teleport there. There was no way of them getting up to that high mountaintop house without being able to teleport. And automatically there was a connection of, yes, I'm home. And it wasn't through, this was telepathically, so it wasn't through a speaking sort of in my head. It was just a feeling, a knowing. And then they arrived a few minutes later at my door, and I suggested to them that we go out to the balcony and we have a cup of tea. I didn't have anything in my hands at the time, but then when I said that, it just manifested in my hands, the cup of tea and being able to walk out to the outside of the building. Everything felt very real, even though it's manifested, it was very real. The mountains in the background, there was a connection, and there was a connection to this huge tree that was beside me. And it was like you were part of your environment, and everything was very bright colors, a lot brighter colors as well. And then I can remember coming back to my body. I got sucked into the tree. So the tree was, to me, representing the Taurus energy that we are in now. And I got sucked into this tree and then into myself, back to being awake again. And when I woke up, I just wanted to stay in that feeling forever. So I started painting the tree in the outside balcony. And I might actually later on put the picture on Facebook and so forth. But the feeling was just the thing that I kept with me, and that was way back about probably 18 years ago now. So I've always, from that point, known where I'm going. It was like a compass or something, a path that I knew that that's where I have to go. And it was all to do with my mind and how that felt. So yeah, just needed to share that story first before I open it up to the rest of you guys. And yeah, that's where that kind of ended.
Beautiful.
So if any of you guys have a question, if Holly or even Mandy has a question, or if Steve has a question about the fifth dimension and what it's all about, I would, be grateful if you jump on in and we can.
I would like to share a wee bit. So to understand what fifth dimensional reality is, we go back to the birth of this planet and the creation of humanity. And so we, as the creator beings that we are, the God source, we created this planet through the power of ourself. And we created this flourishing, beautiful Garden of Eden on this planet. And then races or civilizations, highly evolved, such as Arcturus, Sirius, Pleiades, and Lyran, they came together and they created a being. This beautiful human form was created by these four races. So they're kind of like the parent races for the human, so that we as creator beings could come into this form and experience ourselves within this Garden of Eden. And it started off beautifully. And then a couple of other races or civilizations decided to come on in and take it over and had their own agenda going. And one of those races has since left, but one stayed on and has been here the whole time. So here we were, beautiful, pure, innocent children of nature, children of all that's natural, beautiful beings that flourished on a planet that was created for them to absolutely flourish in every way. And it was hijacked. And because we were so innocent, so trusting, we had no idea that this was actually that we were being maneuvered out of the naturalness of this planet, of this reality, and into a very unnatural state. And so over many, many lifetimes, we've been led into a very different type of living, a separation from all that's natural to us. And so five dimension reality is actually us now deprogramming and letting go of all the controls of the mind that have been placed on us over many, many lifetimes. And we're coming home to ourselves as the child of nature again, as the being of all that's natural within this world. And so at the moment, we are seeing what's been revealed to us here that has held us in its grip and had us believing that that's who we were. And as we move from the 3D reality to the 5D reality, we see the 3D reveal itself more. We cannot see it while we're in it, but the more that's revealed to us on the outside is the gap, the separation that's coming between us on the 3D and us on the 5D. And so we will see more and more, we will witness more and more as we pull apart from the old reality and move into the new timeline until we have a completely neutral stance on it. So when we're not triggered, when we're not in judgment of anything that we see, when we can view everything in the 3D reality from a neutral position, we then stop seeing it. We stop coming backwards and forwards. We stop the movement through the gap. And so that's not an actual picture of what 5D looks like, but 5D is the natural world. It is a natural world to us as nature children, and it's everything that we could ever possibly require to flourish at our highest vibrational state, and while in this beautiful body. So just wanted to add that piece in here at this time.
Yeah, it's they also said to me that there is 10, like the people say that we only use 10% of our brain, and 10%, if you really think about it, 10% of our DNA, 10%, we only see 10% of out there. Just thinking about it from an out there kind of a perspective. And that all matches up. So as we start evolving from the inside, and we awaken these different parts of our DNA to experience different things, then naturally everything in reflection will be gifted to us, so we see more than what we were before. It's DNA, mind, DNA and our thoughts and our everything becomes more together. It just is a natural progression. So then we will end up becoming more aware of, first of all, I've found the thing that they gifted me was to come back to figuring out who I was first. So that was my first part of the journey, was to I was in my head a lot, and they told me in the car, I'm going to bring up the Finding Gold story now. It's funny that I mentioned it before. So I was in the car traveling to Akaroa, and I was just like with everybody else in their head, just getting angry about everything and everybody, and within my mind, not outside myself so much. And they said to me, just start to think positively. Now, it wasn't that they were trying to get me to only think positively. They were trying to get me to take hold of my mind and not let my mind dictate where it was going, like a wrangled puppy. So in this trip to Akaroa, they kept saying, just think positive. I've never had a channeled message like that so profound in my mind. And I started talking to this other voice in my head and said, well, why should I? And they said, well, why shouldn't you? You're the only one who's in your head. Nobody else can hear what's going on. Do you want to give this a go? This is maybe a good thing for you to give a go. And I just went, oh, okay. Well, we got to a beach, and Janine, in New Zealand, the beaches just run forever. It's not like a beach where everybody gathers or anything. They're just empty because we're on an island, and you can pull up anywhere really, and there's no real major car parks or anything. It's just a gravel dune bank with a tuft of grass on it that we pull up at. So there was nobody else around us. We just pull over the side of the road. My fiance pulled over because he wanted to take a photograph of something. He jumps out of the car to take this photograph, being a photographer. And I'm in the side seat thinking this voice was really strange in my mind. And the same voice said to me, open the car door and start digging. And I'm like, okay, looked around. I'm a young 20-year-old, didn't really want to do anything that looked foolish at that time in my life. But I opened the car door. I saw no one was looking. No one was actually there. So I started digging, and I dug up a solid gold bracelet that was worth, these days, probably around $1,000, and with a tattered heart, ironically, on it. And a few other pieces of jewelry as well. And that's when I realized I've got to start listening to this voice. And they started training me from then on to find how to fall asleep with a good thought in my mind. They trained me to imagine a place that's beautiful. They asked me to relax my jaw because it used to be very tense. And they told me just to dribble if you have to on the pillow, kind of thing. They taught me how to put a default image in my brain so that whenever something that I didn't like came into my mind, I would have a specific thing that I would put in my mind. And I chose a fluffy duck at for years. So I'd picture a fluffy duck in my mind whenever something negative came in. And I started to learn what my mind was doing with me, what outside was reflecting who I was. And when I started learning all about that, that took me to different scenarios of them teaching me how to still my mind and even go further with it and so forth throughout the years. So it's an interesting journey to go on, but you do have to know yourself before you allow telepathic channelings or anything to come through you and gift you all this other information that can expand our awareness. It's a progress. Well, for me it was. For me it was a progress. Hi, Seeley. Sorry, I just realized there's a few more people on the chat bar.
If they don't have any questions, I'll share a little bit, Bobby.
Yes.
Okay. So, during this journey I've been on, well, the beginning part of it was to realize I was on a journey. In 3D, we think we come here to live, to work, to die, and that's it. But that's not it. When you realize you're on a journey, so in the very essence of what we are consciousness. Consciousness. We are awareness, our thoughts, and in this ass backwards matrix that we live in, we think our physical reality creates our thoughts. It's our thoughts that create our physical reality. So, Spirit kept guiding me to learn more because I was asking, and that's the key. You have to ask for help. They're all around you all the time, just dying to help. Okay, they live vicariously through us, in a sense. So, learning what 3D is, so I'm still in this dimensional, this physical part, and even today, I'm still more attached to the physics part of it, where Bobby and Janine, they're in the metaphysical. Okay, so the ethereal, the imaginative part. So for me, hopefully this will help some of you to learn what the dimensions are best you can. So in third dimension, I got my little whiteboard here. Okay, so in the third dimensional reality, we live in a box. And basically, our consciousness is stuck in this box. So you got thickness, width, and length. And so we're traveling around in this box, which creates time as the fourth dimension, which is, it's not really, I don't want to say it's not real, but it's definitely not the way we perceive it to be. So when we expand, when we think out of the box, as the saying goes, when we begin to come out of this cell, this prison that we've created for ourselves in our mind, then we expand into higher awareness and get in and start to understand that awareness, that our thoughts create our reality. And you start learning with quantum physics. Quantum physics says it right, plain and simple. You get into, which nobody really understands quantum physics, so that's the big thing. But you can grasp part of it is our thoughts. They know that our thoughts collapse the waveform of photons. Everything basically starts with photons of light, and they're aware that these photons and sound vibrations, they create the atomic structure, and the atoms create the cells, and that's what's creating our physical reality. What I'm trying to present to you all is that our thoughts create our reality. So if you allow your thoughts to be if you dream of anything you can dream of, it can come into reality. Now, there are things that still have to take place before we're going to be able to manifest an ice cream cone in our hand, but it is a thing. It is a possibility. Is what I'm trying to say. Just like Bobby is saying with teleportation and telekinesis, we're all connected. We're all fractals of this consciousness, this infinite source of consciousness that we call God. Okay, and God lives vicariously through His children. That is my perception. That's the way I can speak it. And just knowing there is more. Just begin your journey. Ask for help. Ask for your angels. Ask however you want to say it. I love Jesus. That's, he's my bud. He was the original hippie. You know, he had it going on. So I talk to Jesus. If you relate to Buddha or whatever, God, however you want to say it, ask for help. They're around us all the time, wanting to help. And
Yeah.
and and believe it. Believing is seeing. Seeing is not believing, because seeing is what's kept us blind. Now that sounds crazy to some people, but I'm sure it doesn't sound, because we relied too much on our eyesight and we forgot about the main thing right here, that our consciousness.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing I can add to that too, Steve, is that we're pure vibration. So as a being, we are pure vibration, and we live within a vibrational field. So to move from 3-dimensional reality to 5-dimensional reality, it's all to do with vibration. That's all it is. And anytime we're on the positive end of the spectrum within this reality, so our thoughts, our ideas, our beliefs, our attitudes, our words and conversations, if all that is in the spectrum of positive, of kindness, of giving, of love, of joy, gratitude, compassion, passion, creativity, all that end of the spectrum, we are up in more the 5D reality. Anytime that we are the opposite of that, we're in our judgment, we're criticizing, we're angry, anything, we're back down in the 3D reality. So all those that are awake now have a foot in both camps. So anybody that believes that they're going to miss the boat if they're awake, they're already on the boat. They're already sailing to the new world. It's already there. So it's about understanding that, and understanding that when they're in the higher end of the vibrational spectrum of themselves, then they are more into the 5D and moving that way, creating that reality, not only for themselves, but for all of humanity. And when they drop down into their sadness, their anger, their depression, whatever, they bring themselves back down into 3D reality. And when we understand this, and all of us will have days where we're up 1 minute and we're down the next, but when we really truly understand ourselves as vibration in a vibrational field, we realize that when we drop down, it can take us days sometimes to bring ourselves back up to a higher vibration again. So we become very consciously aware in the moment, in the now moment, of our choice of how we wish to feel. Because why drop ourselves down into a reality that no longer feeds us, no longer does anything really constructive for us, but brings on a heaviness, when we can be up there in that joy, in that place of creating for ourselves a world that brings us our heart's desires, and not what we don't want. Because up to now, we've created by default. We've been asleep. We haven't realized that we create our own world, our own lives via our thoughts, just what you were saying, Steve. And so we create by default. Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes, and a heck of a lot, we get it wrong. And so, well, although there is no right or wrong, but sometimes it feels good, sometimes it doesn't. But now we're realizing, as the creators of our life, of our world, let's bring ourselves up and try and hold ourselves in a higher position all the time. And that's not denying, for sure, not denying if we get something, a feeling within us that's not such a good feeling, but it's about simply just facing it within ourselves in gentleness and allowing that feeling to be there, and realizing not to project it out onto the world and blame anything outside of ourselves. Because it's all about us. This is us in our world. Our world is us.
Yeah.
So,
I actually was shown recently, they put me in front of a mirror, and that's our life. They said, you're in front of the mirror. Now, what are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on yourself being happy? Because straight away that reflection, the outside world, will bring that happiness. You're going to focus on you being annoyed with something, then straight away it will reflect that. And I've noticed it even in the slightest things recently, where I would wake up in the morning and I'd tell myself a story, being in my head, about, say, for instance, chemtrails. That's remembering somebody was telling me things were, chemtrails were around. And then I'd forget the story and I'd go on my day-to-day life. And then later on in the afternoon, I look up when I'm working and I see all these chemtrails everywhere. And I'm like, yeah, well, I did think about that this morning, and that's so interesting. And this is where I start piecing it together, because I'm being extremely honest with myself and how everything is reflecting back out from me. Am I looking at my children and expecting a certain behavior from them? They'll give it to me. They'll gift it to me straight away. But if I look at my children and say, no, you've grown, you've matured, you're a beautiful soul, and you are expressing that, that changes. It changes everything.
Absolutely.
So and it's just a matter of playing with that, like just seeing it as a little game within your own self. You don't need to tell everybody. Just play with it and see, and be extremely honest with yourself. And then you start to see the pieces of the puzzle, or the pieces of your reality that you love, that you want to bring to yourself. And then you're just shining in front of that mirror instead. You're just becoming the glowing example of what you want your life to represent. And that in itself brings you into that higher frequencies. And your reality will change around you. I'm amazed with how much I can shift, because I've come to realize that there is only one reality, and it's mine. And I need to take responsibility for that. Sometimes I lose it and sometimes I win it, but I'm at least looking at it in a correct manner now, not looking at it as pointing the finger outside myself. I see there's quite a few people on the chat bar too. Holly, welcome everyone. Celie, Holly and Franklin and Mandy, and they're all got something, a couple of words there that they've been adding to our conversation, which is so great. Yeah, because they are vibrational, Mandy said, and Holly's like, we just have to tap in. And realizing its experience and frequencies. So thank you so much for being here and being part of this journey as well, because it's a brand new step for us on Talk 5D, and we're starting to realize where we're going with this, and bringing in more people to share their experiences as well. It'll be really good to have a good chat with some of you guys as well. So yes.
I'm not able to see the chat bar with what I got.
Oh, okay. So this is one of those iron out things. So I can see the chat bar.
I can't either.
Okay. Do you have sorry, everybody, this is a bit of housekeeping. Do you have chat captions, graphics set up on the side? No. Maybe
It tells me that messages from the audience will display here, but I can't see a thing underneath it.
There's a little up the top on the right-hand side. I have chat captions, graphics set up, and then I just click on chat. Okay, so maybe I'm the only one who can see the chat bar. You'll see it on Facebook. That's a shame.
I've just seen Celie said all good. So.
Oh, there you go. So you must see it. You must see it in a different manner. I see it as an actual chat bar, but you must see it just pop up at the side there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this is a co-creation with those that are listening, so that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a question, I guess, for both of you all. I mean, through this awakening phase of humanity, I mean, it's important for the population to awaken, and it's important for us to get the information out there. And I won't use the words, but this certain illness that's going around, and these certain structures that have to fall. I mean, isn't it? It's important for us to do our part and to I'll use the word outing these structures and bringing this information out. Don't you believe, Janine? I mean, we can't just, because to create anything in a physical reality, it takes emotion, thought, and action. So I mean, we have to be acting, and not in a pushback manner, but just in that presence. I'm not taking this. I'm not taking this anymore. Structure, but it's also important to share the information and the knowledge with those people who are still more stuck. I don't stuck in the third dimensional part. I guess what I'm asking is, how important is it to get that information out to those people without lowering our vibration?
So, Steve, the most important thing is for us to stand in our sovereignty, and as you said, without pushing back, to just stand in our sovereignty and our power, and speak our truth and say no to anything that doesn't resonate with us. So anything to do with what's going on in the outside world, in the 3D world, remember, if it doesn't resonate with us, we say no to it. And there's no power on this earth that will change our opinion. So many people saying, I didn't want to take it, but I felt I had to. I'd lose my job, or my family are putting so much pressure on me because they've all had it, so I'm going to take it now. So there's just many people that are at that point where they know they don't want it, but they take it to fit in or to keep their job. But for us, on the leading edge of the change here, there is no choice in this. It is an absolute no in every situation, because we know what's happening there. So there's many people that human beings that will not move to the new earth. And that's simply because their soul isn't finished with the journey of the 3D reality, of the journey of separation and duality and everything that the 3D offers. So those people will never wake up, and it's not for us to judge them in any shape or form. So what the team said to me one day, when I had a mother come to me very distraught because her son had just had the vaccine, said the word, said the magic word, and she was beside herself and didn't know what to do about it. The team just said to me, all you can do, dear one, is hold them in love, hold the son in love, and especially hold the mother in love, because it's her anguish that's here at this moment. So it's for us to be the example of a being standing in their power and speaking their truth. It's not for us to tell them what to do. It's for us to try and persuade them to change their mind. All we are invited to do now is to be the example of our own truth. And we will feel that in our field. And if because being vibrational beings, our field reaches right out around us. They will feel that in our field. And if they are triggered by that and sitting on the fence, then they will come to the side that they're meant to be on, of that fence, with a yes or a no to their decision. So yes, definitely action, but the action is for ourselves. The action is in ourselves. And if that means getting out and marching and huge marches to show that we're not going to take this anymore, that's absolutely fantastic, but it's certainly not to do with coercion or pushing our belief onto somebody else.
No, nothing to do with fear. Never do anything if you're coming from a fear, because you're already lowered to their expectation anyway. As well as, to add to that, when people are out there and they say, I had no option, like you said, there is always an option. There is many options. So if they're saying that they have to take it because they're going to lose their job, it's a matter of trust and learning that you are guided through your intuition, and that's the whole key to what we're actually doing now, to where we're actually going now, is to start trusting our intuitive gut that is bringing us in connection to a soul which means we are our sovereign being now, and we're not needing a government official to tell us and dictate how our reality is going to be. The leaders don't need to be anymore.
No.
So the whole point of this shift is to be the leader of your own divine self. And that means that if you've been told by someone else's reality, this is what you have to do, and you say, well, I don't resonate with that, then you will be shown possibly, I'm sure, a better job coming your way. If you say no to that, then you're kind of rewarded in a sense, because you've stepped into your sovereign self, and in that rewarding yourself and saying what you want, dictating what you want your reality to be like, it ends up becoming a better reality than what you were, just because you're lifting your frequency out of that. The gifts start rolling in, so to speak.
Absolutely. And Mandy says here, we empower anything that we give our energy to. It's giving it life. If it's something that you want to fall, then don't empower it by giving it your energy. 100% agree with that statement, Mandy. 100% agree. We feed the very beast that we're not wanting if we push against it. So being vibrational beings, in goes our vibration and actually feeds the very thing we don't want. So great point, Mandy.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, good question, Steve. We lost you there for a minute.
We actually can't hear you, Steve. Hang on. We can't hear you. So there's something going on there.
Yeah, don't resist it, Steve.
he's on an iPad. No,
yeah,
voice. That's okay.
So this is the whole thing about moving into a 5D reality. It's about being 100% true to ourselves.
Mm.
That is the deepest honouring that we can do as a sovereign being, is standing in our own truth. And our own truth won't always match others' truths, but we have to be strong within that stance of, if it doesn't feel right to us, we don't do it.
Mm.
And that also takes a lot of trust. You know, you spoke before, Bobby, about going with our gut feeling and going with our intuition. But, you know, we've been told for so many lifetimes what to do, how to live, how to be, who we are, what's good for us, what's not good for us, that to start to listen to ourselves and to believe in ourselves and come into that trusting place is a journey.
Yes.
And it's only by trying it here, trying it there, and allowing it to go whichever way it does, that we grow in that trust of our own decisions and our own choices. And, you know, sometimes we won't get it right. Sometimes the head will come in and we'll follow that instead, and it won't work out how we want it to. But even in that, we learned something. Okay, didn't really go with my gut feeling in that, and it didn't really work out. So I learned something in that. So that's what life's all about now, is standing in our power.
Yes.
and viewing life through ourselves.
That's right.
It's
becoming the actress. It's becoming the say you're plotting a play, and are you the leading actress, or are you going to be a sideliner that gets told what to do all the time? Are you becoming the leading actress of your own creation, of your own reality, and recognizing how amazingly beautiful your soul and what you can create is? That's the fifth dimensional experience. So from then on, your imagination is, of course, it's not in reality as in physical form, but it is the first step to becoming that physical form. And I've always noticed, like when I'm painting a picture, I will have one thing in my imagination, but when I bring it into reality, because of the pressure of the paint on the canvas, or the colors are a little bit different or whatever, the image becomes something else. than what was completely in my imagination, but it is still beautiful, and it's symbolic of what I was bringing forth. So when we bring forth our imagination, it might not necessarily look exactly the same as what we figured to begin with from our imagination, but it is something that we're bringing forth with an unknown quantity of the physical form and creation. And that in itself is the unknown beauty of creating this fifth dimensional experience from who we are. And I love that, because when there's an unknownness of not realizing how it's going to form, when we start putting imagination to action and actually bringing it into reality, that it could turn into something so magical just from that point of view.
Totally. We're very powerful beings. We are more powerful than our human minds could ever conceive right now in this moment, so and that's part of the journey of awakening to ourselves as well.
Yeah. So Celie just said, so if something feels right for me, completely great, but my husband doesn't feel right about it, how do I proceed? Would I stand in my truth and continue forward, or would I compromise?
Yes, well, I would like to answer that. So when we're in a relationship with somebody else, it is a co-creation. It has to be if we're in a relationship. So I wouldn't say compromise, because compromise is often not us standing in our truth. So within that co-creation, sometimes we are invited in ourselves to make a change. The change might not be what your husband's wanting, but you feel in your heart is absolutely right. And as Mandy's just put up, you simply communicate. The two of you must communicate about what's going on, and you ask him what his fear is, what he's afraid of. So thanks for coming in there, Mandy. And because if one is feeling the deep the inner guidance to move forward with something or in a different direction, and the other one is stuck where they are or wants the same old, then there's fear involved. So there's always fear that holds us stuck or holds us away from change, holds us in a perceived comfort zone. And that comfort zone is just simply because we don't want to go into the unknown. We don't want to stretch out of it. So that's usually what happens in relationships, that one is growing into the new version, the newest, latest version of themselves, the higher frequency, and the other one is too afraid to do that. The other one is stepped back. And in some cases, Celie, one will not wake up. One soul, so maybe I'm not saying in your case this with your husband, but one of the partners within the relationship may stay asleep because their soul hasn't finished with the 3D journey, and the other one is feeling they're thriving as they're opening to themselves and growing in their deepening knowledge of who and what they are. So in that case, of course, then what is holding those two together? Because the gap just gets wider and wider, and you're compromising yourself by staying in it, if that's the case. So yeah, that's yes, Mandy, what is the fear behind his answer? Absolutely correct. Yeah, there's only fear and there's only love. I mean, those are the two vibrations that everything falls under. They're the umbrellas. So if you're not in one, you're in the other. You can't be in both at the same time. You know, the 5D is all about love, the vibration of love in all its forms, and the 3D vibration is about the duality, the polarity, the jumping from love to fear, fear to love, all the time in every experience we have. So I know which one I certainly pick, and you know, it's a no-brainer for me, because I'm wide awake in it and on that ship, and I'm on the bow of that ship, and I'm sighting land already. So see all you guys with me, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, it does depend too with the other person whether they're really willing to look at themselves and see what that fear is. So you might be having a discussion where they just shut down or they project back onto you. something that, because they don't want to look at that fear. But you have to be within yourself aware enough that they're doing that, and you could, and then go from that point of view of, oh, they're not really ready to become part of what I'm moving into. And so then I would leave it up to the fate of whatever. But I've been in this position myself, and in the end, there was a tower moment where my relationship came crumbling down very fast. So that happened for me, not necessarily for you, Celie. But if one person, like Janine was saying, isn't prepared to move up as well, or look at themselves in an honest way, then there's really nothing you can do, even as a partner, and I tried everything to shift the other person. It's up to them. We aren't, even in a partnership, we aren't responsible for each other's growth. We're only responsible for our own growth, even in a partnership. So we have to let go and let live and let people make their own decisions, and come from it from that love point of view of, I love you enough to allow you to let go and still experience the mind games that you want to experience. That's part of who you are and your journey. And that's
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Often we feel the deepening pull to move further and further down to our own path, but we have what we feel is a duty to our marriage vows, to our partner, whatever, and so that keeps us there. That keeps us hanging on. But really, if we look behind that, then there is a fear in us too, and that fear is, what's it going to be like in that huge world out there on my own? At least I feel secure and I feel safe within this relationship. But the resistance is growing and growing and growing. And so, I always say to people, if you're stuck in a relationship through the same old pattern of knowing behaviours, of security, and yet you're growing in a way that you are becoming less and less comfortable in that, how far do you think you're going to get over the next few years in your growth if you allow yourself to stay stuck in that? And if you have emotion building up inside you because you're not honouring yourself, that emotional energy will turn into something. It will do something. It's in your body, and it will erupt in some way if you don't express it in moving forward and owning your truth and moving that way, whatever that direction is. So it's all about honouring ourselves, always about honouring ourselves. And if we move out of the relationship, for instance, if that's what is necessary for our growth, because we're just so far apart from our partner, if we move out of that relationship, we're actually honouring our partner as well.
Yeah.
Because we're giving them the opportunity to dive deeply into their fears and often rise to a whole new level in themselves. Sometimes even coming back together as the newest versions of themselves further down the track, sometimes not, whatever. So
that's exactly what I was going to say, Janine.
Yeah.
That even splitting up could mean that the other person looks at themselves and grows amazingly just through that. I mean, it does depend. Celie said sometimes he's okay and sometimes he's telling me I'm crazy. It depends on how you feel about yourself more than what he's doing to you. So take it. Yeah. I would look into myself and say, am I fine with this? Am I still growing? Am I becoming my sovereign self still? And if your answer is no, I feel depressed and I feel terrible all the time, then I would certainly move on. But if I'm feeling fine with it and it seems okay, then and you're still growing, then maybe you don't need to do that. We don't want to be telling people to split up in their relationship.
No.
To you. But if it did happen, he might actually grow from that, because I've seen that happen too before in other people's relationships. we're going to have to wrap it up soon because we're coming to the hour.
Sorry.
You go, Janine.
So Mandy's just added, when we look at everything as vibrational and not emotional, we see when we're out of vibrational alignment with people, it makes it easier to make decisions. And that is absolutely correct. It's take the emotion out of it and just be with the vibration. And if the vibrational alignment is not there now, then there's something to look at. Then it's telling us something. So yeah, absolutely. Agree, Mandy.
Great. Thanks so much, everybody. It's been an absolutely awesome trial out with our live chat bar. I love it. We'll have to keep going this way, I think, because I like having the interaction with other people as well. I think that works very well.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Janine and Steve, for being part of this. Thank you, Celie, Mandy, and Holly, and Jessica, and Franklin, and just going up the aisle of everybody that's been involved with this. Really love you guys for being part of all of this journey, and we're meeting once a week. Every week we will meet in some form or another. There will be definitely some of us, and sometimes people coming in and out with our with the presenters, but it's working very, very well anyway. So thank you very much for being part of this. Love you guys heaps. Bye.
See you later.